9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to Launch with Kim
and Dr. New. I'm at I was at my limit. Hey, you guys, thank you for coming back. Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Yes, good morning. We're hoping that you're having a fantastic day. Matter of fact, we just gonna go ahead and say you are having a fantastic day.
We are having a fantastic day.
We just gonna go ahead and say what you say you can see, so that we gonna take God at His word. You know what I mean?
Amen.
He said, "Say it," so we gonna say it.
Amen.
And we're gonna see it. And we just like to thank you for coming in today. This is Launch with Kim and Dr. New. We've been talking about leadership, you guys. So I'm gonna kind of jump in because I say this every week, then I start talking. But we're going to kind of jump in. We got a lot to cover today. Mm-hmm. But we started a leadership series, Layers of Leadership. And last week, we talked about kind of defining leadership within yourself. And we'll extend another series. We don't know how long we're going to play around with the Layers of Leadership series. We just going to go till we feel like, saying, you know what, move on. That's enough. So today we'll jump in. But as we do, we like to review. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do a real quick review. I'm kind of move as fast as I think that as I can.
But I still have to say good morning to those of you who are out there. I see there are several of you on different ones of our pages, and I want to say thank you. They're probably mostly on Newt's phone, and he doesn't have his phone again. I'm not going to say that.
Well, I don't usually.
He doesn't usually get a chance to respond. Yeah. But I want to say hello to you because I only have one on my page. I don't know why he's getting all this.
Well, I see. Hype. Oh wow! So I turn it on so I can see Terry Bishop, my cousin Terry Bishop.
Hi.
Thank you for coming in. We appreciate you.
And my friend Marlena. Hi, Marlena from Mississippi. I mean, she's in Tennessee. I keep messing it up every time. I'm trying to put you in Mississippi. Maybe the Lord's speaking, sis. I don't know.
So I mean, they could be on any of those three streams.
Yes.
So I don't know how to see them all at the same time. So you guys, thank you for coming in. We're going to jump in and kind of get things moving for you today. And I left the PowerPoint in the other room from last week, so I'm going to try to do it from memory. So we last week started talking to you about kind of defining leadership and kind of how it's defined. And we shared with you some generalizations about leadership. And we came from one of the scriptures was Proverbs 3:19, how the Lord established everything and founded, on the earth. Mm-hmm. By his leadership. So we kind of took it from there, and I'm stumbling because I want to get you to like where we are today, right?
Yeah.
So the last week when we started talking about it, we said, listen, that there's certain generalizations in leadership and layers of leadership we were talking about. The generalizations of leadership that we said basically in essence that leadership is necessary, mm-hmm. right? And that nothing can exist without leadership. And that came from that Proverbs 3:19. And then we stepped on a little further and we said, listen, there's some myths that we want to dispel. So most folks say, you can't be a leader without followers. At some point that begins to be, it's true. But in the beginning, that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Because God said in the beginning, he made us all leaders. In
Mhm.
Genesis 1:26, 1:28, he said, listen, be fruitful, multiply.
And
Genesis 1:11 and 12, he said, I place seed in you. From within you, the things that are going to be produced come within you. So you're already seedful.
Mhm.
I want you to be fruitful. So if you're already seedful, that means that I am supposed to lead over area of giftedness. So the myth of the followers was basically saying, listen, you don't become a leader. You don't wait to have followers to be a leader.
No, the leader is already in you.
You begin by leading yourself.
Right. Hi, Pastor Clay. I'm sorry, I just saw him, so I had to say hi to him because he's on every week and everything
Right.
we do.
So then we went on last week and we talked about something that leaders, whether they're secular or whether they're working kingdom-based, they all had this in common. There were some things they all have in common. And the first was that they're all driven by some anger.
Some people are driven by anger, some by need.
Well, it's anger or frustration
Okay, there we go.
over a thing. And because of that frustration or anger or whatever you want to call it over that thing, they had this burning desire to or need to make a change.
Mhm.
So every leader, everywhere, in any facet of the earth, however you look at it, that is a principle that's in play in them, and that they all have to be courageous.
That's right.
So courageous to the point that they'll stand by themselves. As we said, at first, you're leading yourself. So they'll stand by themselves whether no one else stands with them, and even unto death.
Yeah.
As many of the leaders that we mentioned, Martin Luther King, we mentioned, just different. Mandela went to jail 20 some years. I mean,
Yes,
just
my
people
God.
who've given their life for causes,
Mhm.
countless people. We don't even start naming names because we're going to forget some, but there has to be some courageousness to it. And another thing that is common with all leaders is the desire to train others.
Right.
Succession is important. Every true leader understands that if no succession occurs, then they were not meeting their responsibilities of being a leader.
Mhm, 'cause it has to be able to last.
It has to be able to continue, right? Even as God said, listen, there's some things you can count on here that, as long as heaven and earth exist, there's going to be night and day, there's going to be winter and summer, there's going to be seed time, harvest. There has to be something coming after,
Mhm.
right?
That's
And
good.
finally, we said that every leader has a focus on why.
Mhm.
Not necessarily the what of what they're trying to accomplish, but the why behind the what.
Right.
Because when the storms come
Mhm.
and the opposition comes,
Yeah.
if you're focused on the what, it's very easy to quit,
Mhm.
to give up, to give in, to stop, to stall, or whatever, or change your direction.
Mhm.
But if you're focused on the why, then I mean you're there.
Yeah.
No one can take that away.
That's right.
That's like covenant.
I was just thinking that, but I didn't want to say it because I know we can get off on a tangent. But that's just like
Right.
marriage covenant. That's right.
We also talked last week about the secular view of leadership. We said that it's way more external.
Mhm.
It's kind of like predetermined. So an external view of leadership means someone has a destination that they're trying to get to, and that destination is already in their mind,
Right.
right? So that means that it's bounded. The external view of leadership is bounded. It has a finite end, which breaks the law of Ephesians 3:20 that says that that he's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think. So even as a leader working from kingdom based, I want to know what finished looks like as far as I'm concerned. But I'm understanding that what finished looks like to me is just the beginning
Exactly.
of God. So I'm ready for what's next. So that's the difference between the secular view
Mhm.
and a kingdom-based view of leadership.
Mhm.
And that secular view is really based on popular opinion.
Right. What everybody else thinks.
Right.
If they like you.
Exactly.
Clicks and likes.
Exactly. So what was cool for us? I graduated high school in 1983. So what was cool for me in 1983
Me too.
with the baggy jeans and whatever music was out at that time? Must be the music turning me on, right? You know what? That was popular opinion at that time.
That's right.
My high top fade to the side, with the lines or whatever
That's
I had.
right.
That was popular opinion, and leadership would tell me to follow that trend at that time. Well, that's not what it is now.
Right.
So the issue with secular leadership is it follows popular
Yeah.
opinion, which means it's really not leading.
Mm-mm.
It's really following,
Mhm.
and it's really compromising.
That's a good thing.
Right? The other thing about secular leadership is that we have accepted that some folks are leaders and some folks are not.
Mhm.
And the word is just not said that. It doesn't say that. It says we're all leaders
That's right.
over some area of giftedness.
Right.
Now, so I wrote down on the screen the leadership gene. So we kind of accepted that, some people that they're the haves and the have-nots. Well, the haves are leaders and the have-nots are not, or they may look a certain way, have a certain amount of education, or whatever the case may be. Those are all how we define leadership in the secular realm. But when we look at the kingdom view of leadership,
That's it.
It says that we're all leaders. Genesis 1:26 and 1:28. We've all been given dominion.
Yes.
Over a thing, leadership, dominion, yes, over a thing. And we're supposed to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue. If that's not leadership, I don't know what else is.
That's right.
That's the command that's been given to all man, male man, and female man, humankind.
Humankind.
Right? So that's what we've all been charged to do. With the seeds what we were given.
Right.
Again, Genesis 1:11 and 12 talks about the seed of what exists comes within that thing itself. So what we're supposed to lead is already in us.
It just, when you said that, Newt, about the seed, because we talk about seed and time and harvest, and Newt says everybody's been given a seed, as God said in his word, but then there's a time, and that time will determine the harvest you get. How much time you put in, how much time you take, how much time you're willing to, submit. That's what produces that harvest.
Exactly. So the last thing from last week is we shared with you 3 C's.
Yes.
So we gave you the leadership lesson, as we'll do today, and then we'll give you an example from a character in the Bible, and Joshua is who we're talking about. So we talked about Joshua 1-9, where Joshua was visited by God and said, "Listen, my servant Moses is dead," right? And we kind of joked around a little bit, but Joshua had to kind of already knew that because he was Moses' assistant, executive assistant, right there. He knew every move.
He knew Moses didn't come back.
Right, he didn't come back. So God made it clear to Joshua that Moses was dead and that now you are in position.
Right.
And so clarity was the first C we talked about. God went on and also said, "Listen, this is the area I want you to accomplish. From this river to that river, from this shore to that shore, from here to here, as far as you can go, from sun up to sundown." Clarity, the first C. The second C was right after that. God said to Moses, Joshua, do that every time. He said, "Listen, be strong and of good courage." So I think he said it in the 6th verse, the 7th verse, and then again in the 9th verse, he said it.
Have courage and be courageous.
Yes. So courage was needed.
Yes.
So courage because of what was in front of him that he was going to have to face, the people that were in the land. What was behind him, because the only thing changed was Moses wasn't there. Now it's Joshua. Everything else was still in place. The old leadership, the old people, all the old ways. So it's going to take some courage to face that because Moses was the man.
But Joshua's level went from just having courage to being courageous, because the scripture says, "Be very courageous." Right. So courage is the jacket that you can wear. Courageous is when you're actually wearing it and doing it.
Right. So it is not a state of being.
Right.
Or your stage, that you go through. I said it backwards. It is not a stage that you go through. It is a state of being. It is what you are. That's why it says be courage, be courageous. And then finally, in that 1 through the 9th verse, God talked to Moses, said, "Listen," he said, "Listen, I want you to do all that's within this book. Meditate on, don't let it leave you from day and night. Do exactly what it is. Keep yourself." I mean, if you read it, it kind of explains it. So it speaks to character.
Yeah. It
speaks to character, to follow the rules, to have self-discipline and self-reliance, but also character, because now all of a sudden, overnight, he went from making $55,000 a year to $250,000 a year. He's no longer just the manager. He's the CEO, and so they needed some character in play to check himself as well.
Yes.
So that was last week, kind of what we talked about. So we want to kind of move this week, and I didn't put it up there, but our topic or discussion or title for today is an introduction to you. An introduction to you. So I'm going to share I'm going to add a PowerPoint to the stream and kind of push us out the way to kind of give you your lesson on leadership. So we want to talk about something called the purpose, fruit, follower cycle.
Yeah.
Purpose, fruit, follower cycle. So for everything, there's this cycle that exists for every leader. So we have to understand, first of all, our purpose.
Right.
So everything, you know, it's been created with a purpose. There's 4 things you need to understand about purpose. Everything is created with a purpose.
Right.
Everything. The refrigerator cools the food,
Has a purpose.
the toilets to get rid of waste, the car is to get you to where you're going to go. The coat is to keep you warm. If I get up in the morning and I go sit on the toilet thinking that I can drive to work, I won't ever make it there because the purpose of the toilet isn't to do that. It doesn't even have that capability.
No, it doesn't.
Right? So I will be abnormally using it or abusing it, using it outside of its seat. So everything has a purpose, and that purpose is to solve a problem. A problem exists, something was created, manifested, put in place to solve that problem. So you have a purpose. Your purpose is to solve a problem. And what that does, it makes you a target.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so good.
It makes you a target because like we just said earlier, as long as the earth exists, there'll be heaven. I mean, there'll be light and dark, winter, summer. There'll be seeding, planting, seeding and harvest. So those opposites kind of need each other.
Yeah.
I know you don't like that, but God said it. He put it in place. That's the balance that keeps things perpetuating and moving, right? So because you have the solution to the problem, that which is evil, and even that which isn't evil, that which is lazy or complacent, doesn't necessarily want the solution to the problem. So that's going to make you a target when you put the solution on the table.
That means you can even be a target of yourself because you have all this in you to do, but then your lazy side is saying, no, just rest.
Right.
So you can target yourself as well.
Right.
Right.
So even if that solution is a positive thing, in a positive place, you put it on the table, it's going to make you a target.
Yeah.
Who do they think they are?
Right. Yeah.
She always doing extra. I mean, I'm not saying examples.
No, this is real examples.
You can fill in the gaps with there. Those things have happened to you.
Oh, and happened to me.
Yes, and so that's kind of what it is. It's a target because you have a solution. So we still have to focus on it to continue that solution because it's our purpose. If we don't accomplish our purpose, then we are in that parable. I think it's Matthew 24:25, the parable of the talents. If we hide it, we're now unprofitable servant. Whatever we have is going to be taken from us, and we're cast into the outer darkness.
Wow, that's so good this morning.
Right. So the last thing we need to understand about purpose is that it requires for us to have a liberated mind, or kind of let me say it like this: it requires us to be willing. All it needs is willingness, not perfection. So don't wait until you think you perfected what you have to offer before you offer it. And I'm smacking myself here because that's me. That's me. I will do that because I don't want to. I want to operate in excellence. So I want to make sure the video is this. I want to make sure that I have this resource or that in place. I want to make sure that the t-shirt design is exactly, and so there's many things hanging in limbo over us that haven't been manifested because I keep waiting for perfection.
And we talk about that. Look, that hit him. That must have hit you.
So understand your purpose does not need perfection. It's just a liberated mind, just willingness to move forward, right? So another thing I want to show you, share with you in our lesson on leadership today, on the fruit part of the cycle, is that your fruit, there's some principles that you need to understand, that your fruit within you is designed to have a continuous cycle. It's designed to continue to procreate, to keep going, right? After its own kind. So Genesis 1:11 talks about how things produce after its own kind. So a seed can only produce after its own kind. You can only produce after what's within you. So if you see some mess coming out of you, you got to look at what's in you, because out of the heart, the abundance, what is it?
I think it's out of the mouth.
I'm talking about the one from Psalms. I said it wrong. The issues of life.
Oh,
the issues of life flow, from the abundance of your heart. The issues of life flow. I know I'm saying the description wrong, but I think it's Psalms 51.
But what it's saying is what's in your heart will come out of your mouth and out of you.
The issues of life flow from your heart, right? You can change that, is why I'm bringing it up. You can change that. So you can only produce after your own kind. But here's the deal. You also have a seed that has been embedded in you, your Jeremiah 1:5 seed that God placed there and formed you with and ordained or approved for you to manifest into this world, even yet while you were in your mother's womb. Before you even came out the birth canal, he said, this is what you're going to do. So that thing is in you, won't change, can't change. It can't stop, won't stop. You know what I mean? It is the masterpiece. God's not going to change the masterpiece.
No, not the master plan.
No. The conditions and things around you, will be adjusted, but not that masterpiece. So there's a purpose in you that's meant to produce after its own kind. You have a fruit you're supposed to be producing, right? And the deal with that is that you are responsible, right? To exhibit leadership over that area, over that fruit. Which means you are supposed to inconvenience yourself to learn to build your skills. There it goes again, KRS-One. He said rappers, rappers out here. I forget the verse now.
I didn't know the raps.
Actually, I know the verse, but it's a cuss word. No, I want to say rappers talk too much, but they can't back it up with lyrics. Build their skills, right? So we have to build our skills.
I have to stop for a moment because she stopped in just to say hello, Pastor Elder Walitra, and she just dropped some sweet words to us. Thank you for stopping by. We love you.
Hey. She's actually ordained us. So again, we're on place. This is your fruit piece. The 3 principles of your fruit is meant to continue, it's meant to perpetuate, right? And you can only produce what's within you. So if something coming out of you is not desirable, then look within you, and you have the ability to change your heart. But that seed that has been formed in you, it will not change. It is meant to be accomplished, right? And you now have to perfect that. Put yourself in place to do what's needed to perfect that and manifest that fruit. Be a leader over that certain area in your life. I think I had some. Here's what I wanted to say about that. I wanted to say that your fruit is meant to be a continuous and unlimited well of possibilities in your area of giftedness. Unlimited, continuous. So here's what I'm saying, and this is a mistake that a lot of leaders make. We put a system, put something in place, and it works, right? And 10 years down the road, we want to continue to keep that system in place as it worked. But we forget that it's unlimited. Our possibilities are unlimited in our area of giftedness, which means that area of giftedness has not changed, but the possibilities and how it's presented, the possibilities and how it's delivered are unlimited. God's a gigantic God. He doesn't have walls. So here's the deal.
That's just good.
As we were coming up, I'm Generation X. So I was dealing with a lot of millennials, young millennials. Now those millennials are in the place where I was at the time when I started working with them, right? And we're dealing with older millennials, right? And now Gen Z. So society has changed. What they perceive, how they do things, what's important to them has changed. So I have to change my approach to you, how I deliver it, how I package it, what it looks like. I'm not changing what I'm bringing.
You don't change the message. You don't change the word.
But the package, how it's delivered, all the things that change. Look at church. Church.
I was just thinking that.
In many churches now, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it's a show. You look at praise and
performance.
It's
lights and cameras.
So it is meaningful in the spirit. It is authentic and meaningful in the spirit.
But it grabs you.
But now there's a production that is going along with it that delivers it, light shows and an agenda
and commercials and announcements online and technology.
It is all intentional to win souls. But my point is this: it's a well of possibilities. Your giftedness, Your fruit is continuous. It's not going to stop. And it's a well of
And
possibilities.
it shouldn't stop.
Unlimited possibilities.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about followers, because I'm spending way too much time.
That's
I'm getting
okay.
excited here.
We got more
Right.
weeks.
So as we talk about followers a little, as we already said, you've already been called to lead over area gifting in your life, and that's your first call.
Mhm.
That's the first thing that you're supposed to do.
Numero uno.
He said, "Be fruitful,
Mhm.
multiply,
Mhm.
replenish." So to be fruitful, I have to take the seed I have
Mhm.
and I have to plant it.
Yeah.
So that means I have to do something in me first.
Mhm.
I have to first recognize what's in me.
Yeah.
And then find out where to put it, how to put it. So that's all internal work
Mhm.
that takes place. And we'll talk about that in a second. So if you don't work on your own land,
Right.
you don't have anything to offer. You can't produce a thing.
Wow.
And I can plant in somebody
Mhm.
else's, and we often do. We go to work at somebody else's job,
We
and
all
we're
do.
planting on their field.
Yeah.
They're paying us what they think we're worth,
Mhm.
right? But we're not actually growing anything in our field.
Right.
The moment they say we don't need you any longer,
Mhm.
you get whatever that severance pay is, or that unemployment,
Little yellow
or
slip,
that
pink slip.
Cobra time for insurance, or
Cobra.
whatever the case may be. You can tell us many times, many times that the brother's been axed, right? Right. So, but that's gone.
That's gone.
Now, what's in your field?
Yep.
Right. So it's important that we develop that thing that's in us. So even me, so I'm gonna give you this example now. It's spending too much time. I work as an educator. So I don't have a university. I could start a university. I don't have one, right? But what I have learned to do, and I'm learning even more, and maybe university starting is not out of the question. Let me just say that. So I've learned to perfect the gift and a seed that God has given me, so that even if the place where I'm planting, even if the field that I'm contributing to, the university I'm working, even if they mess up and decide to say they don't need me no more, because that would
He
be a
said
mess up. That would be a mess up on their part. The gift I have,
funny.
the fruit I have, the seed I have, I understand it. I can carry it wherever.
Mhm. Now that is the life of a leader.
So you need to understand
There it is.
that a leader is not employed.
Mm-mm.
We have been deployed
Yeah.
to release what's in us, but we have to develop that thing what's in us,
Mhm.
because that is the fruit we offer, and that fruit is what draws followers to us.
Right. So look at your work or the place you are working like that what you are releasing there can't just be once you release it, you fizzle out.
Right.
No, you give it, but you know that this is a breeding ground that God is building you and strengthening you so that you can also take what you have and move it elsewhere. That is a life of a leader,
Right.
that it can continue on regardless if they say no more need you.
Right.
Continue on.
And you start to acquire fields and gain fields on yourself.
Exactly.
So just to kind of speed it up, what I want to say to you as your followers, as far as followers are concerned, your fruit is what attracts followers to you. Right. So you have to go to Galatians 4:1-2, and I'm going to mess the verse all up, so you're gonna have to read it yourself. It talks about how a son is an heir over everything.
Yeah.
But he's seen on the same level as the servant.
That's right.
Until he submits himself
Mhm.
to governors and
Rulers.
And tutors, I think. Was it
I thought it
governors
was
and
rulers.
tutors?
Well, tutors.
So
Tutors, rulers.
He submits himself to someone who's going to teach him the
him,
process, and someone who's going to hold his character in check.
Mhm.
In other words, he submits himself, or she submits herself to someone who's going to help them mature.
Mhm.
So until they reach that maturity, the heir, the inheritance that they have, they cannot touch.
Mhm.
Right? So
Wow.
the reason I'm bringing that up is the fruit that within you that's going to attract followers. You have to do a Galatians 4:1-2 on yourself to make sure that you're reaching a level of maturity, so that that fruit they're taking from you is ripened enough that it doesn't make them sick. It doesn't damage them. And it has all the nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals that it's supposed to have to sustain them and help them grow. Because that's why we eat.
But use your fruit. Because as long as you use your fruit, then you know when it's ripe. But when you try to make your fruit someone else's fruit, I don't want to get into that, but you got to be very, very careful to make sure that what you're feeding them is your fruit.
Your fruit.
Your fruit.
Right. I don't know if we're going to get into that. I kind of touched on it, but I don't know if we'll get to it today. But here's the rest of the leadership lesson I want to give you today is that even after you understand that purpose, fruit, follower cycle, there's two main divisions of leadership you need to focus on. Internal leadership. We've talked about that a lot, right? So that internal leadership, it's a journey. It's a journey inside of you that requires that something falls from you, hits the ground, and dies. Let me explain. So what happens is in that internal leadership is an inward journey in yourself. You start to learn who you are, what you bring to the table, what you desire, what you want to see. You start to see a vision from within yourself that you're going to share with others, right? And develop the fruit so you can accomplish that vision from within yourself. So basically, it's God introducing you to you.
Right.
That's our topic this week. It's God introducing you to you. But as God introduces you to you, you're going to have to battle with all the norms of society, which tell us we should be focusing on our self-evaluation, cancel culture, and humiliation, all the things we've done wrong in the past, and all those bad decisions. Those are the reasons why I cannot do this. That's what our norms of society are saying. We've adopted and kind of internalize those norms so we wear them, which means you have to now battle with yourself.
There it is. That's that target.
You have to do that John 12:4. Unless a seed, let's say wheat and barley, whatever it is, falls to the ground and dies. That great thing that's in you has to fall to the ground. That stuff you're considering, which is really about character, and it has to die, change form, so it can produce something. So your internal leadership journey is about you discovering you. What do you really think about you, feel about you, believe about you? Because that's the only thing that can hinder you from accomplishing that which is within you.
And the reason why we feel, think, and whatever about ourselves is because we don't really know what to think about God or feel about God or know who God is. Because when we know who he is, when we really know who he is and know that he's love and compassion and know that he's a creator and he's one that adopts those who are forsaken, until we know who he is, then it's hard for us to really know who we are. Because remember, created after its own kind. God created us. So if he created us, he created all those same things in us.
Exactly. That's why we're in his likeness and his
image. Absolutely.
Yes. So after those things, after that fruit kind of is, let me see that last line because that was my transition. After your gift is offered, right? And you discover that gift that's in you, then you step into the realm of external leadership. And you'll see this if you ever read Ephesians 1, you'll see how God reveals to us, to himself. He says what our purpose is going to be according to his goodwill. Then he reveals it to us, and then he reveals it to man. It's like a progression that kind of happens. So that external leadership piece that you're walking into and phasing into now, how do I want to say it to you? It's about the gift that you're now offering to others. External leadership is where we in our society is where we get excited. We see it as position. Where position is actually the lowest level of leadership. We'll cover that in weeks to come. It's actually the lowest level of leadership, but we get excited about that position. And and whether you want to admit it or not, we get excited about the things it brings us. It brings us attention. It brings us notoriety. People have to come through us to do a certain thing. I mean, we get to establish, we get to navigate and to control. And we like all those things by design because God said, listen, give them dominion over all the things of the earth. So we like to have dominion, but not over men. Not over men. Right? Not over men and women, mankind, right? So we have to realize that when we step into that external leadership component, it's still not about followers. But it's about us making our purpose fruitful and making our fruit purposeful. that makes sense to you.
Yes.
So a cognitive shift has to happen. Cognitive shift means your thinking has to change.
Yeah.
Your thinking has to change now so that you're focusing on and understanding what you bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make it purposeful and I want to make it fruitful, but I need to build my skills.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be deliberate in the things that I say yes to and no to, how I spend my time, you know, what I eat, where I go, who's around me, what I'm listening to. When I said eat, that's what I meant. You know, I was talking about mental and spiritual eat, but I guess physical eat as well, because you need to make sure your body can do what is being called to do. You need to focus now on leadership strategies and start learning some of those things. And traditionally in our non-secular world, we lean away from learning secular leadership strategies.
Yeah.
And that's a big mistake.
Yeah, it is.
You know, because there's an organizational structure
You need
and
it all.
principles that you must follow and understand. So you got to study them.
Yeah, you still got to operate in this world.
Yes. You gotta study them, you know, because God so loved the cosmos.
That's right, the world.
You know, that he gave his only begotten Son. So nevertheless, that shift needs to take place in you. But that shift, and I'll put this up and I'm at time, it's really about external leadership, meaning to make your fruit purposeful and your purpose fruitful.
Wow.
So that was kind of the leadership lesson that I wanted to give to you today. I don't know if I have time to get through Joshua.
No, you got to come back next week.
But we wanted to give you 3 more C's. We gave you 3 C's last week. We want to give you 3 more this week, using the Joshua story. So
look, my husband's looking at you because he's like,
tough.
Kim,
It's
can
tough.
I just go a little
It's
long?
tough because it kind of brings together
If you
the
feel
other
like
piece.
this is something that you go
Nah.
ahead.
I don't. I'm going to try. I'm going to respect the time that I said I'm going to respect. But that story in Joshua,
Oh, my goodness.
as you get to the 11th chapter, if you can read it, we focused on the 23rd verse, and that 23rd verse says this. I just introduced it to you. It says, "Listen, so Joshua took the whole land,
Yeah.
according to all that the Lord told Moses."
He told Moses. That's right.
The Lord never told Joshua what to take. So Joshua followed the rules.
He followed it.
He did what he was told in 1 through 9. Follow this, go get this, exactly like this. Joshua took the whole land,
Yes,
all
he
of it,
did.
not part of it. He didn't leave some of it undone. He didn't take more than up. He took the whole land,
Yes,
right?
he did.
And then after that, what did he do? He said he gave it as an inheritance.
Yeah.
So what I was just talking about, the external leadership, it's not about you.
No.
He resisted the urge to fill his coffers
Right.
and become the millionaire, the 100 millionaire, the billionaire, to get his name out there, to be the one that he resisted that urge, and he divided the inheritance to Israel according to the tribe allotments.
That's right.
Because Moses had already said who was going to get
Who was
what.
going to get what?
So all he did was made sure that happened. He decreed it as the leader, set it in place so that it did take place, so that the deeds were legal, right? And then what happened? And the land had rest from war. The land had rest from war. I don't know about you, but I got some areas in my land that I could use some rest
from
war.
My God.
Right. So what I was going to show you today, and I'll do it next week, I was going to give you the 3 C's, the next 3. So it'll be C, 4, 5, and 6.
That means you got to come back to get them C's.
That we learned from Joshua and his travels from chapter 2 through chapter 11. Those C's that were put in place, that he activated, so that he was operating in leadership that could bring rest from war in the land.
Not only was Joshua acting in leadership, he lived a life of a leader. So his life was the life of a leader. And that's what we've got to do. So when you're at those jobs, guys, as we mentioned this week, remember, leader makes sure things can continue on. So it's not staying at one particular place.
Right.
It's being able to take what God has given you and moving it elsewhere and growing it, because we have to shift sometime from the way things are going to be. So I know, look, Newt is still going over his little notes.
I'm getting set. I'm getting ready for next.
Get ready for next week.
We're already.
We're beyond our time. But as we do each week, we try to share something that you could give to your kids because they need to also understand about leadership. And so we've started a leadership series last week, even with your kids, and our little characters are talking about being courageous, being strong, being competent as God would have us to be. So I want you to check out Launch for Kids, Launch Kids 360 International Ministries. Make sure you sit your little ones down and they'll get the same lesson that you're getting, just in a little bit.
Right. So before we do that, we want to go ahead and proclaim something, bless something over your life, if that's okay with you.
That is okay.
It's kind of what we do, but we're just going to go ahead and speak to the atmosphere, speak to God in the spirit realm right now,
Father.
For each and every listener, for each and every one that is tuned in today or will listen to this broadcast. God, we are releasing a spirit of leadership. We know it already exists in us, but we're releasing an anointing, a touch, a buzz, a jolt, an electrical charge to awaken that leadership that lies within each of us, so that we can focus in on that purpose that you've embedded in us, that we will develop that purpose and develop the skills that we need so that we can manifest the fruit that we are meant to produce, and that fruit will be healthy, that fruit will be abounding, that fruit will be full of nourishment, full of minerals, that will be able to sustain more than we can even think or imagine, God, and that we would then attract followers. And as those followers come so that we can accomplish our purpose, we will have the character, God, to maintain ourselves and them so that we can accomplish the purpose that you have placed in us. We release that. We rain that over every ear. God, you said that faith cometh by hearing. So we are going to increase the faith in those that may not know who they are and what they are as leaders. As we're telling you today, you are a leader. God, we just go ahead and decree that, declare that, and establish that now. Now we combat, we dispatch angels to combat against any hindrance,
Father,
any contrary word, any contrary thought, vision, or image that might come to kind of block or curtail or change the path of this calling, this charged piece of information that will take us from where we are to where we need to go. I disintegrate it. I destroy it. I just tear it up into pieces and burn it away, God. Let the angels go ahead and battle against that so that it does not touch us, affect us, or have any type of impact on us at all. Let us walk in this path,
Father,
free and clear, God. Let us walk in this path, shielded with a light, so that we accomplish our journey into leadership. So we decree and we declare that over your lives even now. We're going to go ahead to the children's piece.
And you know you are good ground. We don't want to forget to tell them you are good ground.
You good ground.
I posted it in the chat. You are good ground in everything.
Go ahead and say it out loud. I am good ground, and everything grows here.
So everything is growing here. And remember, each week, as we say, we're not launching at you. Newt and I are launching with you. So stay tuned for the children's ministry, and we'll see you here next week for the 3 C's and also a little bit more of leadership.
Hey guys, I'm Super J, and today is Saturday. Launch International Kids on Saturday. That's right, and I'm Super Zach. Well, we are here for Launch 360 Ministries Kid International, that is. That's right, Launch 360 International Ministries for kids. All kids, one big world and one great big God. Here we are growing, learning, and becoming who we're called to be every day.
Children are growing, so start them off the way they should go. And even when they're old, they will not turn from it. Proverbs 22:6. They're learning, so fathers, don't exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Ephesians 6:4. And they're becoming, For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Romans 8:19.
All kids, one big world and one great big God. What do we need? Competence. When do we need it? Now. What do we need? Competence. When do we need it? Now. What do we need? Competence. And when do we need it? Now. What do we need? Competence. And when do we need it? Now. Well, hello, Rocky the Bull.
Good morning, Rocky. Super duper girl. How are you this morning? And I'm hearing you say about needing competence. And I agree. Wow, I know you've got a great lesson for us today, and I can't wait to hear it.
Oh, hi, Super J and Super Zach. I'm just reminding everybody about how important it is for us to be competent and to remember that it didn't come from ourselves, but all of our competency came from God. He gave it to us. You know, boys and girls, I forgot. I'm Rocky the Courageous, and I'm always going to be courageous because I've got the power of God in me that reminds me of how supercalifragilisticexpialidocious I am. And I'm here to remind you to put on your competency. And I know you're wondering what that is. That is when you have the ability to do something, no matter how difficult it is. That's when you have the strength and the courage, my name of course, to do something great. And we're going to talk about Joshua in Joshua 11 and 23, where he talks about and he shows us his competency because of what God told him to do. He was obedient and did what God said. Took him across the sea, and then he also divided the land. He was a strong leader, and he was competent, not because he learned it himself or he went to school for it, even though Moses taught him a lot. It was something that God had put down in the inside of him. What do you think about that, Super Zach and Super J?
Hey, I know that scripture. That's Joshua 11:23. That's when Joshua took the whole region and he did everything God told Moses. Then he parceled it out as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribe. So each of them got something. Yeah, I learned that in Sunday school years ago.
That's right, Super Zach. That's the scripture. You got it. Joshua took the whole region. You are absolutely right. But the thing about it is, he was so honorable and respectful. Well, he was just competent because God had given him something great inside. And competency also helps us to be obedient and follow directions because we don't have to feel like we're not smart enough or strong enough or fast enough because we already know who God made us, right? Wow, Joshua sounds like he was a pretty important person and sounds like he was a person who obeyed things that God told him. He sounds like a person that I want to be. Not just important, but a person who's obedient and a person who is competent. So, thanks for that lesson, Rocky the Courageous. That's pretty awesome. You're right. He was awesome. And so are you awesome. And you're awesome too, Super Zach. As a matter of fact, we all are awesome. So, I know you're going to love this video from Saddleback Kids. Make sure you pay close attention to the moves of Joshua.
And keep in mind, we do not own the rights to this video, but it's so awesome we had to share it.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Joshua. God told Joshua to be strong and courageous, for he would be with Joshua wherever he went. He told him to remember what Moses had told him and to study the book of instruction. God told Joshua that it was time to lead the people of Israel across the Jordan River and into the Promised Land.
Yeah, let's do this.
When God told Joshua it was time to take the Promised Land, Joshua sent spies into the city of Jericho. While those spies were in Jericho, They were protected by a woman named Rahab. The spies promised to spare Rahab and her family when they took back the land.
Yay!
And she hung a scarlet cord from her window to remind them of their promise.
See you soon! Yeah, let's do it!
Joshua readied his people to cross the Jordan River, which was the only thing dividing the Israelites from the land that God had promised to them.
All right! Right here. Okay.
They camped beside the river for 3 days, waiting, just as the Lord had commanded them. At this time of year, the Jordan River was flooded and flowing with so much water that it was impossible to cross on foot.
And then the Lord said, "Let's go for what?" Hey, priest. Yeah. Come on.
God told Joshua to tell the people that the priests would carry the Ark of the Covenant and lead the people through the water. He told the priests to step into the rushing waters.
What? Huh?
And when they would do this, the waters would stop flowing.
What?
And as soon as the priests did this, the water of the Jordan River did stop flowing.
Yeah.
And the priests stood with the Ark of the Covenant on dry ground as the Israelites crossed to the other side.
All right.
God told Joshua to send 12 men from the 12 tribes of Israel
Go get it.
to take 12 stones from the place that the priests were standing. When all this had been finished as God commanded, Joshua called the priests from the Jordan.
We're good. Come on.
As their feet left the Jordan River, the waters came back into place, just as they had been.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They brought their stones to their camp and set them as a memorial, so future generations might remember the story of how God brought his people through the Jordan River on dry ground. Now the Israelites had crossed the Jordan and were camped near the town of Jericho.
Hello.
One day Joshua looked up,
Huh?
and there was a man standing before him.
Hello.
The man said, "I am the commander of the army of the Lord." Joshua asked what the man wanted to tell him, and the Lord said he wanted Joshua to take the city of Jericho,
All right.
but that Joshua needed to follow his instructions exactly.
You got it.
Jericho was shut for fear of the Israelites.
Anyone home? Yeah, well.
No one came out and no one came in. So the Lord told Joshua to gather his soldiers and march around the city for 6 days.
No.
The priests were to take the Ark of the Covenant, and 7 priests were to go in front of it, blowing a ram's horn. On the 7th day, they were to march around the city 7 times and blow the horn. Then all the people of Israel were to give a great shout,
Then what?
and then the city walls would fall.
Whoa. Yeah, let's do it.
So Joshua said, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." And the people did shout. And the walls did fall.
Let's go.
The Israelites overtook the city of Jericho as God had commanded.
Rahab.
They remembered Rahab because of her faithfulness. Joshua was faithful in carrying out God's commands, and the Israelites took many other cities as God told them they would.
Oh, nice.
For God will never fail to fulfill his promises. So the Israelites came to live in the land that God had promised Abraham, Isaac, Israel, Joseph, and Moses many years ago.
So, boys and girls, Joshua is really competent, and so can you be. So don't give up even when things get tough. Just listen for God. He promised to take you through. Bye. See you next week. Thanks again for watching our channel. And we want you to follow us on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe. See you here next week for Launch 360 Ministries, Kids International Ministries, that is. Oh, and don't forget to stop by Amazon and get some of Ami's World books. The newest book is When Cheerleaders Go in Strike. Check them out. You'll love them all.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!